हेलो।
सर नमस्कार।
नमस्कार नमस्कार बड़ू भाई, नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार।
नमस्कार।
Yeah, I am right now tuned off. What the PPT I have shared, whether it is visible?
Yeah, visible, visible.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Go ahead.
Nature blessings.
Go ahead.
Nature blessings. Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Uh, Welcome to you all to the IGNO class, particularly the tourism marketing. And in this regard, dear friends, today we are going to have our deliberation regarding the marketing mix and the specific situations. It comes under block 5. And I am here, Dr. Pareswar Sahu, the assistant professor in history, is going to have your class. So, dear friends, whenever we talk about the concept of marketing mix specific situation, it is one of the another segments when to talk about the tourism marketing is concerned. And when we talk about in the previous classes, we have been highlighted, hinted upon the different segments of the tourism marketing. Why? Tourism, according to World Tourism Organization, is one of the major destination, is one of the major tourist product because in all over the world there is a true sense of a competition only because of to sell the tourist products or we talk about the destinations. The reason is it is one of the important contributors to enhance the GDP as well as we may talk about the national GDP or we may talk about the state gross domestic product achievements. And in this regard, today we are going to discuss that is called the familiarization in marketing mix specific situations. We are going to discuss the first bit difference, that is your familiarization tours. In short, we may call it the farm tours or may talk about the farm trades. Question comes, what is the necessity of a new notions in the tourism marketing? That is the familiarization tours. Difference. It is quite important why we are talking about it. Keeping in view of certain areas, you may talk about the certain goals and objectives. This topic has been designed. And in this regard, the first objective that we are going to discuss, that is to understand the importance of the familiarization tours in the tourism promotion. Yes, when we talk about unless and until the tourism is promoted, it's difficult to generate, it is difficult to market the tourist products in the canvas of the world tourism map. And therefore, we must keep in mind what is the importance in the latter and we are going to discuss. But this is the first fundamental goal of the familiarization tours. Second, we are going to discuss how and why the farm tours are organized. It is important. Every curricula that we must keep in mind, every curricula possesses a good deal of the characteristics. And according to it, yes, dear friends, we must keep in mind that is the why the farm tours required. This is the first area that we must keep in mind why it is required, why it is promoted, what is urgency, and number two, how it would be effective. This is the second objectives in context to the farm tools. Now coming to your friends, the third one that is called. When we talk about the role of the different tourism organizations in the farm tours, we must keep in mind we have the far knowledge regarding about the previous classes that we must keep in mind, dear friends. One is what? Here we must keep. The tourism industry is not a single-handed industry. The tourism industry has been incorporated with a series of industries. We may talk about the industries of accommodation. We may talk about the industry of the food and beverage. We may talk about the industry of the social services. We may talk about the role of the service sectors. So a group of people, a group of organizations emerged and ultimately they fulfill the dream of the tourism marketing or may talk about the tourism industry. And the fourth, the last but not least, we may talk about the status of the palm tours in India. If we may talk about not only the palm tours in India, in all over the world, the countries are comparable to sell the tourist products, to sell the tourist destinations in the eyes of the international, national, and regional and inter-regional levels. So therefore, every state has its when we talk about the global phenomenon is concerned, every state has its own status of the palm tools. And it is a fact. The palm tools is varied. When to talk about its course box and concerned, it is varied from nation to nation. And it is varied to the objective to the objective. It is varied from the course of actions to the course of actions. And in this regard, keeping the above four solid objectives, dear friends, the farm familiarization tool, or you may call it the farm tool, is taken into the account. So let's we discuss in context to the farm tools. We discuss the introductory one. Why you may talk of the introduction? Because every discussion needs, it may be the social sciences, it may be the management, discipline of the science discipline, whatever we talk about, every subject matter requires a sense of the introduction because it gives the ideas, the glimpse about the what the speaker is going to deliver. And difference in this context, we see the nature of the tourism product that we must see what exactly we know earlier. It is not physically demonstrated. When to talk about the tourism product in name of a destination, it cannot be physically demonstrated. If we may talk about the soap, if we may talk about the toothpaste, if we may talk about the clothes or the goods which are used for the customers, for the consumers in his day-to-day life, that goods can be demonstrated. Example, suppose we all have gone through the electronics media or the printed media, and whenever we may talk about the fairs and festivals which made, there we notice the goods in the trade fairs. But it is a fact difference when we are talking about. Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, you're audible.
Good. So I'm talking about what I'm talking about here. The tourism products are not physically demonstrated in one hand, and in other hand, also it cannot be properly experienced unless and until in advance a buyer, a customer, tourist, a consumer, not familiar to it. Therefore, we are talking about the familiar tools, or we may talk about the farm tools. So another important concept is here, dear friends. What is that? That is every destinations, every tourist production possesses a good deal of knowledge. What kind of the knowledge? The knowledge about its evolutions, the knowledge about its historical significance. Yes, every monument in all over the world. Every tourist destination all over the world has its own trademark, has its own benchmark, and that benchmark can be studied, can be taken into the account of its evolutions, its development, growth, genesis, and we may talk about its importance. So it contains all sorts of the knowledge. And whenever we talk of the physiography, it deals with its location, its environment, and we may talk about the place of the recreations. So whenever we talk about the product, particularly we're talking about the tourist product, a customer must aware about in details about the what I'm talking about the for your information the tourist destination. So now question comes, dear friends. It is believed that the farm tours, no doubt, it play a major role, a vital role in providing these experiences to the intermediaries. And if people say that, unless and until the involvement of the intermediaries to whom we call it the middle. For example, regarding the better clarification of the intermediaries, I'm talking to. Suppose in case Odisha of India, particularly a place called Raghurajpur. And Raghurajpur has been considered as one of the World Heritage Sites and by the UNESCO, and also it is the destination of the rural tourism we talk about or the international tourism. Why we talk of the international tourism? And Raghurajpur is international acclaimed. It is international acclaimed because of its significance, and that significance is the classical dance, which now acclaimed in all over the world, the best dance form we call it the Odissi, and earlier it was the Gotipu dance. And now coming to the another aspect that is called the photo painting, the mask. We may talk about the mask, the paper masks, or images, or we may talk of the cowdung images. So, keeping in view of these, a large scale of the foreign tourists, the international tourists, and we may talk about the outbound tourists, they are coming to that destination. And it is a fact, there is the tourists are not reaching to the artisans, to the artists. The tourists are conducted, the tourists up to Mars as means to the intermediaries. That means the person who act as a bridge between the tourists in the one hand and in the other hand we may talk about artisans. So why I am talking about it, dear friends, and why the half tours is important. In this context, I would like to share my experiences. Once upon a time, I am talking to in Gwalior of Madhya Pradesh in India. There was an international conferences on the world tourism. What exactly we talk about was organized. And I was the participant at the time. I'm talking about 10, 12 years back. And as well as I contributed a paper, that paper I had developed on the Raghurajpur, showcasing Raghurajpur, a destination of rural tourism. What is the motto of the World Tourism Organization now? Because unless and until to venture, unless and until to explore the tourist repositories in the rural areas, the tourism industry cannot be properly sustained. So in this regard, I'm talking to when I was paying my data collection as a researcher. I used to move near about 2 months. I visited to the Raghurajpur village, and I had developed the questionnaires and I collected some questions. I put some questions before them and I collected the answer. And I came to know that there is even today now one exactly may say a painting. The painting starts from the 5 rupees to 5 lakhs. And ultimately, I asked to the artisans, asked to the artists, if you are selling a single painting and you are earning the 5 lakhs, then I am sure you must or you might have been the man of the crowds. And when to talk of the economy, economic sustainability would have been a cup of tea when to talk about the people of the Raghuras is concerned of Odisha in India. But the difference, you can't believe what the teachers answered. Sir, we are remain poor. And I told why you are poor. They told the foreigners, those who are coming to our village, they are not directly contacted to us because we the artists, we the weavers are not up to the mark to communicate in English, and so that the foreign tourists they are uh, not in contact with us, with the customers directly, rather they are contacted to the intermediaries that I'm talking to dear friends. So the role of the intermediaries is quite important. And in the Raghunathpur, I noticed that the intermediaries were more powerful and economical, they are more sound than we may talk about the real artists who have put their livers, who have put their the sweat to make a tourist product. So, dear friends, it was all about the introduction. Now we are going to discuss, dear friends, farm tools, the purpose. I told every curriculum which is meant for a particular subject, it follows that you must keep in mind, dear friends. What it follows? It follows a certain parameters. And in this regard, when to talk about certain parameters, dear friends, we are talking about the farm tools and what its purposes. Every action there is a purpose. Every thought there is a purpose. Every living still there is a purpose. And to do all kinds of the works there is. I'm talking about a difference. Uh, every product has its own identity, I know, the own purpose, particularly because curriculum needs a purpose. Unless and until to develop the curricula without any purpose, it would be meaningless, it would be vague, that we must keep in mind, dear friends. And therefore, I'm talking about the farm tools means generally it is a kind of tool. The farm tool is a kind of tool. If we are talking a long tool, if we are talking a story tool, if we are talking a tour with the nature, if we talk about a tour with the saga, and if we see that the tour for the accommodation, tour for the hospitality, tour for the service, see in all over the world, friends, we are getting so many tours exactly, and it is the part of the purpose of the tourism. Understood my point? So now, difference we are going to discuss the familiarization tours, or we may call it the farm trips, are generally working in Delhi, and more particularly, its aim is uh, to acquainting with the tourist destination. And why acquainting is required if before going to any destination, if before you are going to any destination, tourist destination, at least the people try to have a sense of knowledge, the abundant of knowledge for your easy conveniences. And in this regard, dear friends, I'm talking about the farm tours also requires what? That is the acquainting. One must be acquainted with the trade, acquainted with the trend, acquainted with the interpretation, acquainted with the economy, acquainted with the way of to lead the business over there. So many things are required. Number two, we are going to discuss that is called the intimating, informing, and providing and first-hand experience of the tourism product or services to the people's makers. Dear friends, I'm talking about what I'm talking about. The farm tools have some objectives or some goals. The first goal that we must keep in mind that is called acquainting. So every tourist, or we may talk about every tourist, must acquire the knowledge about a particular destination. So, acquisition of the knowledge earlier is a great beneficiary to the tourists. The second one is the intimating and informing. That is the responsibility of the destinations. It may be the public sectors, or you may talk with the private sectors, or the third one we are talking about the NGO sectors. So each and every sector should work earnestly, should work earnestly. As a result, one must need to be informed and providing the first-hand experience of the tourism products. It is the fact. That is therefore I am talking with the farm tours. Farm tours purpose is to be acquainted earlier of any destinations, tourist destinations. One must appear. And it is the fact difference when we're talking about the sense of the appear. Yeah, it helps, it extends to the opinion makers and the business providers. So in this regard, difference when we're talking about the farm tools has, I'm talking about the farm tools has some sorts of purposes, specific purposes. The first purpose was that you must keep in mind that is called to target. It means to target the aims of organization say that the market segments an organization wants to target. Target to whom? And on the basis of it, you are going to develop your destination. Second is the stage of the public life cycle that you must keep in mind, dear friends. We are talking about the so, dear friends, I'm talking about what? I am talking about the second one that is called the stage of the product life cycle. And here we must keep in mind, dear friends, a product or a destination is not fixed at all because though Konak is fixed, but it's the accessories are from time to time it is different. Time to time it is built up and it is the fact difference. Whenever we are talking why it is required, why the product life cycle is required, it is required only because of the time is not fixed at all. And if you may talk about for your better understanding, it is not in case of India, it is not in case of Odisha, it is in case of the world. Because the Oswald Spengler has pointed out that a great historiographer of Germany, and he has pointed out that time is not fixed. Time is changed, and according to the changing scenarios, according to the changing of the time, the product needs to recycle. And in this regard, I'm talking about difference, the product life cycle. Here, for example, I'm talking about the launch stage, or we may talk about the rejuvenate stage. It is happened in case of India also. The singing, or we are talking about the bhajan, or we are talking about the orchestra. If we talk about the orchestra of R. Rahman, and his orchestra, as means, is the international as the tourist product. So, every tourist product or the destination requires the cycle, and the cycle means change in its phase, change in its communication, change in its facilities. So that we must keep in mind, dear friends, and most particularly, dear friends, when we are talking about the farm tools are important in context to popularize the tourist products that we must keep in mind. So now, dear friends, we are going to discuss certain areas in context to the farm tours. I told the purpose of the farm tours we have already discussed. Gathering the experiences. The purpose of the farm tour is varied from time to time, and also it provides us regarding the first-hand experience regarding the tourist product and regarding the services. And similarly, it also promotes, I told that is the state of the product styling. So now, dear friends, we are going to discuss about the destination, promotion, and image building. The question comes, dear friends, why it is? Whenever we may talk about uh, every country in the world, every country, it may be the small or the large, it may be the developed or the underdeveloped. The friends, we're talking about every country in the world now makes an acute efforts. Why? Now to have a large share in the tourist generating marketing. Every country now felt after 1985 the permission of the World Tourism Organization. Every country felt that the tourism industry is the best form of industry and which gives to the nation the better earnings. And it is the fact when to talk about it is such an industry where the people are directly and indirectly involved. And whenever we talk about the directly involved people, yes, it comes through certain organizations. So now, dear friends, we are talking about what? We are talking about the countries in all of the world now generating, activating the marketing system and relative to the selling of the tourist product. Therefore, it is known as the marketing in tourism or tourism marketing. And it is the fact I want to talk about the keeping in view of the foreign earnings. Every country keeping in view of the foreign earnings, all the nations now ready to invite the tourists. And what kind of the tourists are? As you know, we have discussed, it is the national tourists, international tourists. We are talking about the regional tourists and the intra-regional tourists. So there is a competition among the nations to attract national, international, regional, and inter-regional tourists. And in this regard, difference, just I'm giving the example to you. What is my experience? I would like to share because it is pertinent regarding the destination promotion and the image building. It means a destination needs to be promoted, number one. And number two, that destination needs to establish in the canvas, in the eyes, in the mind, in the heart of the people of the tourists. And therefore, I am just giving an example in context to the Kerala Tourism Development Corporation. We're talking about the Kerala Tourism Development Organization, corporation as you mean. It is the fastest. In context to the farm tourism concern, Kerala in India is the fastest growing tourism industry. What my experience? In the year I'm talking about 19, no, in the year 2007 and 8, I had been to Kerala. There is the Wayanad district of Kerala. I'm talking about how Kerala Tourism Development Corporation is much ahead of, in case of India is concerned, much ahead of other states in promotion of the local, in promotion of the tourist destinations and establishing the image. See, people can believe I spent 90 rupees in 2007 and 8, I am thinking that. In Wayanad district, we moved to the ecotourism place. And there was nothing if a generally in layman can understand. But as a tourist, as a visitor, as a researcher, I could understand it's okay. The land possesses its own identity, its own values, but still then That is the techniques. That is the techniques of the Kerala Tourism Development Corporation that one can uh, pay 10 rupees, 10 rupees like the 90 rupees. And what he or she can notice just to cross over the streamlets, then to move the we might talk about the forest, then another streamlet. One can cross the streamlet by his own efforts, just with the support of the rope. In this next, one can visit to the tribal, the ethnic patch, the ethnic pockets, and in this way, I spent 90 rupees because why not watch the destination, and that is the urgency by the local bodies, by the public sectors, by the NGOs, by the advertisements to promote a destination. Like I'm talking about the tourist destination. So, farm tour, if you may talk about the domestic market of the state tourism organization, I told for extra, for example, Kerala Tourism Development Corporation, it plays a very vital role. And also ITDC, Department of ITDC, Indian Tourism Development Corporation, and the Department of Tourism, Government of India, and they are playing a big role in promoting the destination, in promoting the destination. And another one, they establish the image of the district, of the touristic product, of the touristic destination. So keeping in view to acquainted, to accumulate the knowledge, the farm tours, the farm trips are organized in the regular intervals in India, in the rest of the India too. And the another aspects, dear friend, what we are going to discuss, that is introducing new products. It is another part of the tourism industry as well as in the tourism marketing system. So, the one thing we must keep in mind, what after the date, after the marketing research has been come up, what is that? That you must keep in mind, dear friends, the destination or the tourist product exactly we mean, it may be attractive. There is no question about it. It may be attractive, or we may talk about it may be strong or the strong product, but it need to be introduced. For example, suppose Konak everybody knows, their friends, unless and until to visit, unless and until to see the Konark, one cannot understood what is the consumer skills of the Odiyas, the consumer skills of the Kalingas. Yes, it was the living museum in 13th century. Konark was the matrix of the Indian art and architecture in all over India. What the magnanimity has been reflected in the ideas, in the thoughts of the artists, of 1200 artists, including Dharmapad and the Vishnu Maharana. So therefore, no doubt, Konark is a masterpiece. Therefore, Professor K.S. Behera, the late Professor K.S. Behera, has developed his research, his PhD on Konark, the heritage of mankind. It is not the heritage of mankind of Odisha. It is not only India, but also the whole world is attracted towards the miniatures of the paintings, the carvings in a very live way. And unless and until one see, one cannot be believed that. So therefore, I'm talking of the Konark is the symbol of the planning and management. Or we must keep in mind, dear friends, in the other hand, it is the finest monuments in 13th century in all over the world, the most finest one. So therefore, introducing new product means maybe the product is more attractive, That's the question about it. Or we may talk about it is strong in its notions, in its applications, but it needs to be introduced, it needs to be promoted. And how to promote it, your friends? The promotion is not always fixed. Suppose I may give the example that is called the promotion requires a right time, a right place, and the right intermediaries. Question comes at the right time. If we may talk about in 2020, not only India, but also the whole world was suffered, the precarious suffered from Corona. And even if in the preceding years too, we are getting the different versions of Corona, that means the whole world was compelled not to move to any place, not to move to any destinations. So that we must keep in mind, dear friends. So in this regard, we must keep in mind that though the product is more, though the product is more elegant, though the product is more strong, or we may talk about the more attractive, still we must keep in mind it needs to be promoted. And in this regard, dear friends, the promotion of the tourism that we must keep in mind, it requires the three major concepts. That one is I'm talking about the right time. So in which time the product can be or it needs to be promoted, and whether the time it needs with the possibilities I'm talking about, dear friends. And in the other hand, dear friends, in the other hand, we are talking about, in the other hand, we are talking about the right place. That is most important. So, dear friends, when we're talking about the concept of the right place and in which time or the place that should be free from the doubts, that we must keep in mind, dear friends. The place must free from the doubts. That is, I'm talking about the right place to press the product. And another thing is the right intermediaries. Because in the promotion of the tourism, or we may talk about the tourism products, the role of the intermediaries is quite important and it cannot be neglected at all. So, therefore, from time to time, the intermediary needs to be well trained, needs to be well educated because they can promote, they are the key master, exactly we mean. And another concept, dear friends, I'm talking about the right intermediaries. For example, the product like the place on the wheels, if you may talk about it. And in this regard, one must keep in mind that is try to imagine the publicity or we may talk the product will get if a reputed travel as exactly we may the writer publishes a write of his or her own experiences of the journey. And it is the fact that when we are talking about when people are gathering, when people are collecting the data, the information from where? From the write-off, as exactly we mean, the write-off. And if the person is providing the information about the tourist product in a productive way, then it will create a good ambience, it will create a good sense of the attractions towards the destination by the national, international, inter-regional, the regional tourists. And another important thing is here, friends, a travel agent also needs to be well experienced. The joining himself would sell the product. The travel agent, it is the fact. Suppose A is a travel agent, and if he has visited to a destination, he can give the better ideas. We are talking about the, in the last class we have discussed that is called the physical evidences, the fifth P concept. And now, dear friends, I'm talking about what? The role of the travel agent is also important because after his experience by his journey, he would sell the product with more confidence to the tourists. And suppose the travel agent is not earlier visiting to that place, and instant it's difficult not to the travel agents but also to the tour operators, or we may talk about the tourist guides. So from that point, if I'm talking to just before introducing the new products, that much of the experience, that much of the knowledge is required by the travelers, by the tourists, by the tour operators, by the travel agent. And the method for providing this experience to the travel writer or the travel agent is a farm trip. A farm tour. Farm tour means the urban tour just before the real one. And in this regard, dear friends, I told a tour operator may not use the services of a hotel, or may talk about a restaurant, or we are talking about a transport operator, unless he or she has ensured the quality of the service. And it is the fact that I'm talking about just before introducing the new product, the tour operator service is required. It cannot be neglected or relegated. And similarly, the restaurants, the owner of the restaurants, the hoteliers, or we are talking about the transport operators. Yes, we must keep in mind, dear friends, everybody should ensure their quality of the service. So now coming to the another aspects, dear friends, that is called the damage control. It is the another aspects in context to the farm tools. I'm talking about the purpose of the farm tools. This is the third one, damage control. So what do you mean the damage control? Control is a policy. Control is a state of action to extend the service to the people. In this regard, I'm talking the damage control being used for the farm tools. For your information, the farm tools extremely useful. Extremely useful. For whom? For the tourists as well as for a destination. And sometimes it is happen when to talk about the negative situation. It happens sometimes. If you may talk about in the third world, tourist arrivals often drop suddenly because of a crisis. It is happened different. So to talk of the corona was taken into the account as the damage control. And due to the corona, not only the third world, but also the whole world was affected. And as a result, in all over the world, there was the least tourist arrival, the tourist influx. So as a result, it hampers not only to a particular group of the people, it hampers to the varieties of the industries. And what are my experience in this regard, I must say that. Because if we talk about the hoteliers, these 2 years, the hoteliers, they were suffered a lot financially. They were suffered a lot mentally. They were suffered a lot from the health and the social background. So, because it has happened in the third world, I'm talking about the tourists' arrival was dropped suddenly because the control damage, or we may talk about the events, or the damage is not a process, it is an accidental. And in this regard, difference I'm talking about regarding this, the damage control, the governments as well as we're talking about in charge, or we talk about the private sectors, we are involved, particularly how to control. And therefore, if you were taken to the example, in the year 1994, uh, the opinion makers from 30 countries were invited by the Department of Tourism to fly down to India. Why? The purpose was the 30 countries were invited to the Department of Tourism, Government of India, fly down to India or come to India. A reason was what? A reason was to give the knowledge about India as above the tourist destinations, and therefore the purpose was to invest the money in the destinations. And therefore, we're talking about a difference. Apart from, I'm talking about the India invited the 30 countries, particularly uh, the apart from the Air India foreigner carriers like the uh, Lufthansa, Lufthansa. I'm talking to Malaysian Air, and their friends offered free passes to India to select opinions makers. And the purpose is here, the India has conducted that kind of the tours because of to provide the knowledge about the destination, the marketing system, marketing feasibilities in India, and therefore they invited to the opinion makers. Opinion makers means the foreigners. They must visit India and to generate the opinions how far India would have been the place of the tourist destination in the international scenarios. And most important thing is here, this select group was able to gather first-hand information. They must come to India earlier only because of to get the information and the familiar most probably to gather the first-hand information and the familiar about the I'm talking about the destination, but the fact is here due to the flaw plague it was not possible. And when we talk about a group of the people, they are coming to determine, to examine, to experiment whether the plague was happened or not happened, if it happened, in which areas it was promoted. So keeping in view and its impact on the society. So difference keeping in view of the varieties of the missions I'm talking about, the damage control also needed a lot. And among the opinion makers, they were specialized in their respective field, like the three doctors from the world. I am talking about the Pasteur Institute in the France. And I'm talking about how far the damage, like the plague, like the corona, like the epidemics, how it can be controlled. And another important thing, that if it would be more precarious, then there are the possibilities to friends to affect the tourism marketing, and also it affects to the tourist destinations. So now coming to difference, another aspect we call it the publicizing events. Every event needs to be publicized. It needs to be publicized. Why? Most of the countries, the destinations are promoting special events to attract the tourists. Therefore, the competition is there. Every country now promotes the special events according to or keeping in view of its the areas. If we may talk about Odisha of India, promoting a Konark through the Konark festival. Because that I'm talking about the difference, when to talk about the Konark, Konark is no doubt the heritage of the mankind. And the Konark is now marketed in the nook and corner of India, nook and corner of the global phenomenon. That is called Monarch is marketed through the Monarch Festival. So therefore, organizing event is one of the tasks of the state, or we may talk about the country as a whole. And for your information, dear friends, I am talking about the publicizing event regarding this. Organizing event, yeah, is oriented from tools. So organized event is a method of the farm tools that we must keep in mind. And therefore, in all over the world, the small countries or the big one, each and every country now comes forward through a mindset of the competitions, that is selling of the culture, selling of the cultural properties, selling of the flora and the fauna, the monuments, and therefore they wanted to publicize the events. And how to publicize? If you may talk about in case of India, the friends, the Department of Tourism Government of India organized about 20 such farm tours in the year 1994. That you must keep in mind, dear friends. In 1994, the Government of India had undertaken to organize a series of, I am talking about near about 20 number of the events. And only because of what? Only because to attract the tourists in a large scale. And dear friends, in this context, we may give some example. That is, the friends we are talking about it, the Suraj, Suraj Kund Mela of Haryana. In Haryana, in the year 1994, the government of Haryana Department of Tourism with co-partners of the ITDs and the Government of India Department of Tourism has organized the Suraj Kund Mela. And similarly, when we talk about the Suraj Kund Mela, similarly, the Elephant March in Kerala. So these are the outcomes, these are the milestones when to talk about the event is concerned. These events are national with international reputes. And the festival Sapulchi of Tamil Nadu, the Puri Beach Festival. People say that when we're talking about the Puri Beach Festival, it was the first in the year 1994. And after that, it was in a continuous form in Odisha. But due to the corona's impact or the calamity, we may talk about the threat of the corona, the government of Odisha stopped right now. And the fact is here I'm talking to every event, each and every event contains the international understandings, contains the marketing portfolios, and it attracts to the tourists from the nook and corner of the world. As a result, there was the easy access of the earning, the foreign exchange we talk about, or we are talking about the foreign earnings. And similarly, difference I'm talking about another one that is called the Desert Festival in Rajasthan. So in this regard difference, I'm talking to that is called the farm tours can also be organized to cover or to promote the business events. If we talk about the SATTE 1994, first Indian travel mart was encouraged by the government by providing the free international passes to leading overseas tour operators for participation. And in this regard, dear friends, we are talking about the tourists. They are coming to a destination not only to relax, not only to reduce the pains and the griefs. In the other hand, they are destined, they are in flux, they are moved to only because of to extend or to accelerate the concept of the marketing, or we are talking about the trade business. So now, dear friends, after that, we are going to discuss the another aspects that is called the dear friends, who is to be invited. Whenever we talk of the palm tools, can the palm tools must reach at the grassroots level to the upper stratas of the society, or is there any paraphernalia, or is there any specific characteristics? And in this regard, dear friends, I'm talking about organizing as well as conducting a palm tour. Cause you, and yes, it is a fact difference. What the economy standard of yours, first of all, and you cannot be invite just anyone for this. So palm tours is not a common one. It is a specified one. But whenever we talk of the destination like the Puri beach, yes, it is open to all, irrespective of the caste, creed, color, sex, race, religion, and religions. But whenever we talk about the Konark festival is not open to all. Only the artists, and we may talk about the great personalities, and also the people who have the pockets. Only they are invited. Similarly, if we may talk about the hoteliers, dear friends, not only in case of Odisha and all over the world, the five-star properties like the hotel not invited to all, and only the people are invited who have the pockets and who have the powers, who have the prestige. And in this regard, I'm talking about who is should be invited. Now, coming to it is organized for a specific purpose. The palm tours have no multitudes products purposes. Its purposes is very clear and its purposes is very specified, very solid and astute by nature, dear friends. So it is organized for a specific purpose, and the people invited should be able to serve the purpose. Yes. For example, if I may give the example like the conference. The conference is not usually invited. The small scale businessman, for example, that the seminar on the cultural heritage of India or cultural heritage of India and vice versa, the world. So in the meantime, only the academia, only the cultured people, the managerial one, and the people having the status, only they can participate. They can share their thoughts and ideas. But in the other hand, when we talk about the commons, the laborers, they were not admired to that one. If any conferences is made, only the elites are invited. Similarly, dear friends, when to talk about the palm tools is concerned, only I'm talking about it is developed keeping in view of some glaring objectives. So therefore, all the people are not invited. Only that group of the people invited who would able to serve that purposes. And generally, if we may talk of the research is made, generally difference in the part tools, only the two kind of the categories, two kinds of the people, they were invited. They were invited, like the pain and because and the business. I'm talking about the providers. These are two category people that you must keep in mind, dear friends. One is the opinion makers, means the persons, the peoples who are ready to give the opinions for the beta sale of the product, the beta sale of the tourist destinations, keeping in view of its uh, all-round development. That defense we must keep in mind. And now coming to what is the opinion makers. So this category defends who are or forming or who are consisted the opinion makers. Who are they? For your information, they are the journalists, the travel writers, the TV, the radio personalities, the public leaders. They were the opinion makers, and they play a role in creating and influencing the public opinion. Yes, it is a fact. Whenever we may talk about in the concept of the democracy, as we all people know, democracy is working on the basis of the public opinion, and it is the fact that what the journalists may talk about the travel to writers, TV, radios, they are the instruments as well as the public leaders. They are playing a vital role to generate the public opinion and to accelerate the process of the public opinion. And from here, we know the farm tours are organized by the Department of Tourism. Invitation for the tour are sent on the suggestions documents of the various overseas tourist officers of the department. And it is the fact India invited the tourists from the overseas and other countries also invited to the people when to talk about the public officials, the royal officials may talk about the administrators, or we may talk about the policy makers, or we may talk about the entrepreneurs. So in the varieties ways a country invites, particularly invites by the Department of Tourism. And in case of India, India also invited the responsibility that was the responsibility of এটা ମୁଁ ମାନେ ପଠେଇବି ଖାଲି କ୍ଲାସ ତ ନଉଛି ତ ହଁ ଏଇଟା ମୋ ଫଟୋ ଉଠେଇ ଏଇଟା ମ୍ୟାମକୁ ଦେବେ ତ ହଁ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ଆଚ୍ଛା ଜଷ୍ଟ ଏଇଟା just a second. It is I'm talking about. So, dear friends, whenever we may talk about just interruption. Just difference interruption. Just sorry for that. हाँ हाँ मैम ଏଇଟା ତ ହଁ ସବୁ ଅଛି ମୁଁ ଆକୁ ଫଟୋ ଉଠେଇକି ମେଲ୍ ଆଇଡିରେ ପଠେଇବି ଆପଣ ଗୋଟେ ରଖି ଦେଇଥିବେ ମୋତେ ଦେଇଦିଅ ଆଚ୍ଛା ହଁ ହଁ ଏଇଟା ଆଜି ନ ପଠେଇଦେବ ଆଜି ପଠେଇଦେବ ନାଇଁ ସାଢ଼େ ପାଞ୍ଚ ସାଢ଼େ ପାଞ୍ଚରେ ହେବ ଏବେ ନାହିଁ କିଛି ଗୋଇଙ୍ଗା କଣ ସାଢ଼େ ପାଞ୍ଚ ଗୋଟେ ଯୋଉ ଆଫ୍ରିକାନ ପିଲାଙ୍କର ମିଳୁଛି କ୍ଲାସ୍ ସାଉଥ ଆଫ୍ରିକା କୋଉଠି ଏଇଟା ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଚାଲିଛି ନା ସରିଲାଣି ଗୋଇଙ୍ଗା ଗୋଇଙ୍ଗା ଏଇଟା ମୁଁ କହିବି so, dear friends, we're talking about what? We're talking about the farm tools. And when to talk about the farm tools is concerned, yes, we discussed exactly the two kinds of the people who are invited. And they are we are talking about the opinion makers that we must keep in mind. And the second one is, I'm talking about the second one that is called the business providers. So I'm talking about what? I'm talking about the business providers. For your information, dear friends, tour operators are the part of the business I'm talking about. Tour operators are the part of the business providers. We're talking about the travel agents and practically all those who form part of the delivery channels. If I talk about it today, no, if I talk about it today, like the Flipkarts might talk about the Mintras or the different Amazons, I want to talk about in the social marketing system. And also we are having, I want to talk about the Swiggies, the Tomatoes. So they are the delivery channels, as you know, and are in a position influencing the tourists flows come under this category. And another question comes to your friends. Today, when companies in all over the world, not only in India, in all over the world, offer the incentives travel for the leisure. And sometimes we may talk about many organizations, both the government and the privates, they all are working. And we are talking about what? Many companies, I told, they are coming forward to share the leisure to their employees. Suppose we're talking about the Tata, Birlas, the big companies, or we may talk about the entrepreneurs from time to time. They are sending their people, they're sending their employees to the different destinations of the globe. And here one can also invite the decision makers in such companies when to talk about the farm chiefs is concerned, the farm tools is concerned. For your better clarification, I would like to give the examples. In case of Odisha, the hoteliers like the Mempire is concerned, and its owner, when to talk the entrepreneur of the Mempire, that is called the Dilip Roy, from time to time, he is sending or the what to say, deported to the employees of the Mempire Bhubaneswar to the rest of the countries, rest of the areas, particularly Thailand, we may talk the Switzerland, the countries with the hot tourist destinations. And in this regard, I'm talking about difference. Normally, the opinion makers and the business maker providers, they are invited when to talk about the farm tour is concerned. And now we are going to discuss the another aspects regarding the farm tools. And whenever we talk about a difference, the farm tool is concerned, yes, they are the partners, the itinerary, yeah, we are talking about itineraries, and we might talk about the organizations. Yes, we must keep in mind, dear friends. In the tourism industry, we never say that it is a single industry. The tourism industry, exactly, we mean the tourism industry is an industry of the blending of many industries, blending of many organizations. And yes, we must say that the tourism industry, so all organizations contribute towards the farm tour. So farm tour is the outcome of the all sorts of the organizations, all sorts of the tourist industries are involved in the tourism marketing. And it is because all the organizations get the benefit with the arrival of large scale of the tourist influx. And that is the motto. Each and every organization, each and every state in the world, having keeping a view of that, how to earn how the foreign exchange through the large scale of the tourist influx. Because it is a boost when you talk about your it is the boost to the foreign earnings. We are talking about the large scale of the tourist influx is just like a boost. And it is a fact difference when we are talking about it. That is, for organizing the farm tours, the Department of Tourism, Government of India plays a vital role. And now question comes. What is the responsibility of the Government of India in context to organize the farm tours? The first one is it covers to the high commissioners, the embassies I'm talking about, or the national air carriers, or we may talk about the various overseas tourism officers of the national tourism organizations. And the most important thing is here, dear friends, the partners is quite important. Therefore, in the tourism, there is a motto that is called the progress through the partnership. And in this regard, dear friends, I want to talk about the proposal recommends inviting the single or may talk the group of leading travel writers, the journalists, the TV, radio persons, incentive source, the parators, and we're talking about the other opinion makers from a particular market to visit specific destination in India. Now, question comes, dear friends. It is required when to talk about the partners. Partners is quite essential when to talk about the promotion of the tourism industry or the tourist destination, or we are talking about the tourist product. It needs the partner. As a result, the government of India Department of Tourism is taking the bold step regarding to associate with the partners when to talk about to select a particular the organizations in India. And therefore, I'm talking to their friends. The palm trip, the palm tour is also required the involvement of the hoteliers, or we may talk about the tourist transport reporters or the transporters, the airlines. Okay, in this way, we are talking about the responsibilities, the contributions of the partners to energize, to facilitate, and to make successful of the farm tours. Similarly, different when we talk about the organizations, yes, we're talking about if the farm tours consists of the persons from a TV company who would be making films on the various historical monuments in India. So the entire the itinerary will be planned keeping in view that was keep in mind of the monuments. And from that point of view, we must keep in mind the farm tour here is possible or became more successful in India. I want to talk about the Archaeological Survey of India has been considered as the the partner of the promotion of the farm tours by the Department of Tourism Government of India. And similarly, when we talk about the wildlife promotions, and it is a fact, every country in the world, every state in the world having the wildlife sanctuaries in the form of the sanctuaries as well as the zoo. And it is also one of the core area of the destinations whenever we talk of the tourism is concerned, dear friends. And it is a fact when we're talking about wildlife. For the promotion, one would need the support of the forest department. I'm talking about how the different departments, different organizations, different partners is quite important when to talk about the palm tree is concerned. For giving the example, for a better understanding, friends, in case of Odisha, there is the Similpal, the tiger. Uh, we may talk about the sanctuaries, the tiger project is over there, and if anyone can promote it, Similpal, there is the Ulung, as you know. So it needs the support of the Department of the Forest. In fact, all these aspects, no doubt, considered at the planning stage. Yes, the tourism palm tours in the tourism industry, the palm tours requires needs a good deal of the planning. And although when we talk with your friends, the tourism industry ultimately, when you talk of the concluding parts of these, we say, yeah, the palm tours is become more familiar when you talk about the South Africa or the Israel's is concerned. There, the business providers, may talk to opinion makers, are trying a lot to conduct the palm tours. So now, dear friends, we are going to discuss the another aspects regarding the marketing mix and the specific situations. So what is this? That is called the seasonal marketing. So dear friends, we are talking about the seasonal marketing. Tourism exactly is seasonal marketing system because it requires a certain parameters. A tourist needs the time, a tourist needs the vacation, a tourist needs the money. These are the three major areas just before selling a tourist to any destinations. And difference when we're talking about the seasonal marketing, it is a very cognizant part of the marketing mix. And why it is required? Therefore, keeping in view of certain objectives, the first one we're talking about it, friends, that is the role of the seasonality in tourism. How far seasons are responsible to accelerate the process of the tourism marketing? How far the seasons promotes influences to the tourist to visit to destination? Number one, the role of the seasons in tourism. Number two, that we may talk about it, your friends, that is called the regions which contributes, appreciate the regions which contribute towards the seasonality in tourism. Appreciate the regions. Why season is required? The third objective may talk about, your friends, learn about the problems. Yes, learn about the problems that emerge because of the seasonality factor. So, due to the seasons, what the problem occurred? Yes, it is occurred. If you may just evaluate the destinations, particularly in seasons. Suppose I'm giving an example, friends, in Odisha of India. I'm giving the example. What is that? That is, I'm talking about how the problems are emerged. Suppose in Odisha, the tourist season that starts from the month of November, December, January, February, and these are the four major months. And by March, the tourist influx started to decline. So now, depends if within a particular season, a large scale, the millions of the people, the tourists, they have been concentrated, they have been destined at a destination, it creates the varieties of the problems. The problems one we may talk about, it has negative impact on the tourism, on the environment, number one. Number two, it is a challenge. To whom it is a challenge to the administration. And it is there are the possibilities of the IDAOs, or we may talk about on social activities at the tourist destinations. So therefore, it is a challenge. It would have been a challenge to the administration. And another, I'm talking about the administration also, and the traffic, it creates the traffic problems. And also, there are the possibilities of cheat by the organizers. Why? When we talk about a tourist destination, there are develops. So different kind of the shops actually, or that we may talk about the people, a group of people who are ready to solve the tourist products, like may talk the meals in the tourist products, or may talk about the crafts as you mean. So everywhere there is the possibility of the cheat, or we talk about the maladministration. And the third we may talk about the fourth one, advantage of seasonality. Next we may discuss the familiarize yourself with the various methods adopted to deal with the problems of the seasonality. And another, we may talk about the marketing strategies adopted by the tourism organization in relation to the seasonality. So, keeping in view of these, the major objectives, the friends, we are talking about the seasonal marketing is also the integral part of the tourism marketing, or we may talk about the marketing mix with the specific situations. So now question comes to move in details about seasonal marketing. We may talk about it. Then coming to dear friends, seasonality. Uh, just a second, I'm talking about it, dear friends. Just a second. Yeah, I'm talking about the intros regarding the seasonal marketing. And for your information, dear friends, we may talk about in the tourism industry, there is the possibilities of the seasonal marketing, because seasonality is the most important characteristics that needs the proper handling in relation to the marketing. And the highly elasticity tourism demands is to large extent linked with the seasonality aspect of what exactly I pointed out that. Because a tourist always set his mind or her mind that in which vacation he or she is getting more time. So from that point of view, whenever if I talk about in Odisha means of India for a better understanding, the people are getting the seasons. Like we talk about the process starts from the October. There is the Dasara. The people are getting near about the 10, 12 days the holidays, and in the month of December there is the Xmas holidays. And in between, I'm talking about the tourists. They are getting the times. Very simple to say, uh, due to the vacation, keeping the money in the pocket, and I'm talking about the climatic conditions. Keeping in view of these threats, yes, there is the propagations, the importance of the seasonality, marketing of the seasonal marketing now is more heightened. And in this regard, difference, the tourist generating markets as well as the destinations have seasonal limitations. Yes, if you may talk about every destination has its own identity, has its own. If you may talk about the month of in Southeast Asia, I'm talking about it, your friends, particularly in the month of Baishak Purnima. It was the time, it was the period for the Buddhist tourists. They influx to the different Buddhist destinations, tourist destinations in all over the world, more particularly in Southeast Asian countries. And for your information, dear friends, on the same occasion, in Odisha of India, a place we are talking about the Buddhist golden triangles, that is the Lalitagiri, Ratnagiri, and Udaygiri. There is the highest concentrations of the Buddhist tourists. It is only because of what? It is only because of a season plays an important role in the influx of the tourism. And now, the friends, we are talking about what? We are talking about uh, the another aspects, that is in all over the world there are some peak seasons and the lean seasons of the tourism. If we may talk about in Odisha, the peak seasons, that is called the November, December, January, and February, and the lean seasons we are talking about the month of August, September, or we may talk about the started from the May, June, July, August, September. Because of these areas, these seasons, months particularly, meant for the rainy season as well as the summer seasons. So it affects, it influences to the tourists. So therefore, it is measured through the marketing research that there is the lesser earnings by the state. And even if when we talk about the people who are engaged themselves by selling their products at the destination, they are also not getting that much of the money what during the time of the we may talk about the peak seasons they are getting. And in this regard difference, now we are going to discuss about the another aspects of the seasonality in tourism. So very simple to say, dear friends, the varieties of the tourism have an element of the seasonality in a link. And when to talk about the peak seasons, the lean seasons, which mean, or we may call the lean seasons, otherwise known as the off seasons, for a destination, the tourist generating market. And if we may talk about it, dear friends, we are talking about some examples in context to the seasonality in tourism. More rush on weekends in a museum or a resort. I'm talking about as per the regional, what to say, the farm tours is concerned, the regional or intra-regional. What happened here? For your information, dear friends, there is the more rush in the weekend in a museum or a resort. In museum, because the people they were not getting museum as we have already discussed, the repository of the knowledge, repository of the culture of both the tangible and the intangible. So therefore, a large number of the students, tourists from the different regions, the colleges, universities, schools, they're coming as a tour at the weekends, like the museum and the resorts. And it may talk about the rush in morning or the evening flights in comparison to the afternoon flights. Why I'm talking about? Because the people prefer, that is the suitability I'm talking about. The in this regard, all the flights, the airlines may talk about the private, the Indian Airlines or the private airlines, as you mean, or the international airlines are earning the more money, particularly in the middle of the time, but as you know, uh, but in the I'm talking about more rush in morning or evening flights in comparison to the afternoons. Because of these are the peak times, as you know, the peak seasons. So when to talk about the people, the tourists, that travel to one place to another. And even in this regard, I'm talking about the another aspects, dear friends. In the marketing mix, we must keep in mind it helps. Some analysis are made. Some researches have been made that to study the marketing mix. For example, we talk about the product can be designed or the product can be designed as per the season's requirement. How to say, if suppose a tourist visit to a destination in the summer, particularly the last part of the March or the at the beginning of the March. So if people see that, might have been noticed that the cucumber selling is large when to talk about this is the seasonal requirements. But if the tourists are visiting in the winters, when to talk about Odisha as an example, I am given as the tourist destinations. In the winter, the lesser selling of the cucumbers are the tourist destinations. And similarly, we may talk about in the winters, the vehicles are shells, the less number of the AC rooms in comparison to the hot seasons. So similarly, we are talking with the separate prices being charged. Also, if we may talk about the piece of the cucumber in the month of winter, particularly November and December, if its cost is 10 rupees, in the March it is doubled. And now I'm talking about the difference. The manpower requirements would be higher in peak seasons and lower in the lean seasons. Because it is important when we talk about it, dear friends, the influx of the tourists requires the highest number of the human resources because there is the resort, every tourist destinations, a resort, every tourist points. And in this regard, I am talking about, for example, Goa can be cited as the best example in this regard, dear friends. In Goa, the capacity utilization is varied from peak seasons and we talk about the lean seasons. The same thing happened in the Puri when to talk about Odisha as the destination. So now, dear friends, we are talking about the another aspects. Why I am talking about the different types of the seasonalities and the reasons for what. Now coming to there are the climatic seasonality and non-climatic seasonality or the climatic attractions. We are talking about the social pressures on the fashions, then the sporting seasons and the traditions. So there are the five seasons. Whenever we talk about in the terms of the tourist influx to any destination, dear friends. So now coming to the another aspects, or in this context, we are talking to there are different types of the seasonality, or you may talk about the tourist seasons. And for your information, dear friends, whenever we're talking about the tourist seasons in Mars, because of different reasons. And if just giving the example, according to the Raphael Raymond Baron in the year 1993, had attributed on quote the development of the tourism seasons to the climate at the origin and at the destination, and also to non-climatic attractions like my talk about the festivals, celebrations. So that you must keep in mind, dear friends. According to Rappel, as pointed out that there are so many reasons it's made that you must keep in mind the climatic conditions are the reason when a tourist leaves her own habitats. And in the other hand, what is the conditions at the destination? And also, we are talking about the non-climatic attractions like that is called the climatic and the destinations. And we may talk about the non-destinations, climatic destinations, like dear friends, we are talking about the festivals or the celebrations. But if we talk about the R. Butler in 1994 has pointed out that the lack of research in this area, in spite of the concerns expressed, that you must keep in mind, dear friends. It is another reason so to talk about, not to determine the problems arises in the seasonal marketing. So Butler has given very right notions that the lack of research, yes, it's true, the lack of research have been made. So what is the benefits of the seasonal marketings and what are the demerits of the seasonal marketings? How far tourists are getting the more satisfaction in the seasonal marketings and how far the tourists are more satisfied in the unseasonal marketing as you mean. So if we may talk about the climatic seasonality, we are talking about in the western countries in India are between the October and February. I'm talking about the maximum tourist influx from the western countries in India. That we may talk about month of October and February, what I have already told. Because India is situated in such a geographical arena, geographical strategy such means, or the strategic location for India is in all over the India, no kind of corner of India, we see the foreign countries, the international tourists, or we may talk about the tourists of the Western countries, the influx between the October and I'm talking about the February. And therefore I told the March is the starting point of the decline of the tourists. And now question comes, dear friends, what is the climatic seasonality? So climatic seasonality is related to the natural climate seasons in a year that everybody knows. So in each and every year, there is a special climatic conditions. As regularly keeping in view of that, the tourists are planned. If we are just talking about the Manali, we are talking about the Uti of Tamil Nadu and the Manali of the Uttarakhand. Sorry, Himachal Pradesh difference. So that is the best destinations in the month of the summer seasons in India. So therefore, I'm talking about climatic seasonality is relating it very pertinently to the natural climatic seasons in a year. For example, a movement of tourists from hot climate regions towards the cooler climatic destination in the summer months, and that I'm talking about there is the peak seasons. And in this regard, we are talking about in India, more probably the hill stations are the destiny because the people may take the winter snows and enjoy the extreme colds. And sometimes it is happen in India, the tourists they are in search of the from the cold climate to move to the hot climate. That I'm talking about the climatic seasonality. And similarly, the non-climatic seasonality or the non-climatic attractions such as mean, it can be termed as the institutionalized seasonality because we have the tourist or the tourist marketing is working properly through keeping in view of the religious possibilities, keeping in view of the cultural attainments, ethnic and the social aspects of the human life. Like we may talk about the festivals, the pilgrimage, fairs are the examples. And just we may talk about it, your friends, are the other elements also responsible towards the seasonal marketing. What is that? That I'm talking about it, dear friends. The four C's, the four elements that we may talk about the human decisions, the four elements of the human decisions. And that we must keep in mind, dear friends. What is that? That is the public holidays. Number two, the educational holidays. Because the parents they cannot move alone. When to talk about to move to a destination, the parents plan to have their kids, and the kids are in the educational institutions. So, keeping in view of the public holidays for the elderly ones, the elderly tourists, and the educational holidays, when to talk with employers or may talk about for the kids, and the industrial holidays too for the entrepreneurs and the family holidays. So these are the four elements also influence to the seasonality. And the third aspect, when we talk about the social pressures, dear friends, we call it the social seasonality. It is the fact, dear friends, in the society, we have gone through the different kind of the elite ones, the affluent and the dominant social class that we see in all over the world, and therefore it is socially necessary for each elite groups that are to participate in the different seminars we may talk about, or like we may talk about some trend, a new trend now developed in all over the world. That is what that we may talk about the travel for the honeymoon can be cited as one of the example. So it is the fact when to talk about the honeymoon is made that it doesn't record any kind of the seasons particularly, and the bride and groom they prefer to go to abroad to go to any destinations, tourist destinations. It may be the Manali, it may be the suppose it is in the winter season. They prefer to go to the hot walls like we talk about the South Indian, like we talk of the remote film city, or we talk about the Charminars to talk about Southeast Connection, the Golconda Fort. And whenever we talk about the I'm talking about in the winter seasons, the bridal groups, the people to go to the Himachal Pradesh, we talk about, the Uti, or you may talk of the Mashuri in case of India is concerned. And in this regard, it is known as the social pressure fashions. We are talking about the social seasonality. And now difference we are going to discuss, that is the another aspects. What is that? That is called the sporting seasons. It is another aspects that we know of the seasonal marketing, which is a part and a parcel of the marketing mix for the specific situations. So, when to talk about, there are the varieties of the tourist activities, and it is the fact in winter sports like the skiing, and the water sports like the surfing are examples in this regard. I'm talking about one is the skiing. If we go to Manali, where the skiing has happened, and I'm talking about the surfings are the different examples of the sports seasons. And if I talk about further, there is a lot of tourist movements during the major sports times like the Olympics, the cricket, the Hockey World Cup, and the football matches. And it has happened different. So, for the first time, Odisha in India organized the Hockey World Cup. We notice because as the spectators or the inhabitants of the capital city Bhubaneswar, Odisha, we notice that a large scale of the tourists from the nook and corner from the globe are influx to the capital city, and at the meantime, how long it was going in the game, there was the we may talk about the traffic, there we may talk about the rows of the tourists. And in this regard, I'm talking about the difference. The hoteliers, they are earning some money. All the people, particularly even the entrepreneurs or the different organizers, the tour operators, or the tour, I'm talking about the farm tours. So many different we're talking about, they are involved and earning the money, and they believe that this is the time of the sporting seasons when the large influx of the tourists is possible, not only in case of India, in all over the world, the people, particularly the tourist destinations, are keeping in view of the sports. And the another one difference, that is called the fifth one, that is called the tradition. Every country has its own tradition. Every race has its own tradition, and it cannot be eliminated. It cannot be relegated. It cannot be rejected. Why? Every country, as you mentioned, difference. Every country is based on its own tradition. And now, coming to difference, tradition also plays a role in seasonality. According to Butler, many people take holidays at what at peak seasons because they have always done so, and old habits tend to die hard. For example, I'm talking to the family was always taking a trip when schools are closed for longer durations. Like I'm talking about the summer vacations. The people, the family gets 1 month or 1.5 months of the holidays. Therefore, they are planning that. A stage comes when the children have grown up, there are no more learnings, and the family trips should not be tried off with the school holidays. It is a fact. So the school time is bound, is tangled to the family members. So in this regard, I'm talking about this is a tradition. And it is also sometimes when we're talking about the tools that happen in case of India is concerned, that is what exactly we have been going through from the different tourist destinations. In India, there are so many the religious tourist destinations in form of the dhamas. Like we may talk about Rameshwaram in south, we may talk about Puri in the east, we may talk about the Badrinath and the Dwarikanath in the west, and we may talk about in the north that is called the Badrinath. So question comes, these are the Pradhamas beside it. We're talking about the Kashi, Varanasi, Vrindavan, and we're talking about the people are about the Gaya. So these are so many tourist destinations are there relating to perform the religious obeisance means or the religious practices. Therefore, the people are find out that that time, as you know, the seasonal marketing is concerned. So now coming, difference want to talk about the problems that happen. There are some problems which happen because when we talk about the peak seasons, the problems that I told emerge are related to the carrying capacity. If we may talk about it, it happens sometimes during the time on the occasion of the New Year. In Puri, the tourists may not get unless and only they book the tickets for the hotels of 2 3 months earlier. Because on that occasion, there is the large scales, lakhs and lakhs people concentrated to the Puri. So therefore, in the peak seasons, the problems arises, like the carrying capacity. And it has happened as I once upon a time I was victimized in Puri also. I didn't get a room in Puri. I'm talking about in the month of April, because in the April Puri, the hot climate people they travel to Puri. So therefore, one day I didn't get the rooms there. It is all because of the carrying capacity is overloaded. Then similarly, we are talking about the service capacity also. The lack of a trained manpower also come up, and the lean or the obsession brings the problems. Are the problems being generated by the obsessions? Not only in India, in all over the world, it is happen. The first one is the declined profit. It is a fact I told. During the time of the peak seasons, the hoteliers, or we may talk about not all the hoteliers, the restaurants, the tour operators, or the people involved in the tourism marketing, they are getting more profits. But in the lean seasons, in off seasons, the profit is gradually declined, comparatively suddenly declined. And similarly, the maintenance cost. And yes, if the large number of tourists are coming for the people when to talk the destination requires the maintenance in the lean season as well as in the peak season. So, keeping in view of that, the high maintenance cost is the another problems, and the unemployment is also because during the peak season, a hotel requires the 10 manpowers, and in the other hand, in the off season, the hotel requires only the half of the manpowers. And ultimately, what it happen? Ultimately, it leads to the unemployment and the closures. We are talking about it. So these are the problems happen to friends, and it was the second aspects, and we are going to the third aspect that is called the trade fairs and the festivals. These are also quite important, dear friends, in context to the I'm talking about what the marketing mix specific situations. So now, dear friends, want to talk of the trade fairs, yeah, in each and every country, maybe the large, maybe the developed or the underdeveloped. It is not the matter of the fact. But the fact is to conduct the trade fairs as well as the festivals. And regarding this, there are certain objectives that must keeping in mind, dear friends. So define the trade fairs. So what is the trade fairs? On the travel mart, that we may talk about it. The second is to know how and why they are organized, how trade fairs is made, and who takes the initiatives to organize the trade fairs and the festivals. Like we may talk about the Ponam festivals, the beach festivals, we may talk about the boat festivals, we may talk about the elephant festivals. So in all over the world, in case of, in all over the world, I'm talking to different. There are the varieties of the festivals and being organized according to the seasons. Then the third one is how far the trade fairs and the festivals helped in the promotion of the tourism. And last but not the least, as festivals are the tourist destination and festivals as the important component when to talk about the promotion of the tourism in national, international, regional, and the intra-regional levels. So now, dear friends, we are talking about what? We are talking about the aspects. Very simple to see. In the era of 21st century, we talk about the mass tourism. The third world countries have adopted an export-led model of the development. The export-led model means They less import and more export. And when we talk of the more export, that is the only thing when we talk about the monuments of the state, the culture of the state, the tradition of the state, the local cohesion of the state, the culture of the state. So therefore, it is the funda right now, the friends, the third world, particularly we may talk about the European nations, particularly, or the Southeast Asian countries, the third world, particularly, we are talking about the Commonwealth nations. And we're talking about in recent times, more countries which do not have access to the foreign markets for their manufacturers, the tourism becomes an option. I'm talking about it. If a country has no options of the foreign markets for their manufacturers, therefore the country is ready to sell the tourism, to sell the tourist destinations or the tourist products. And it is a fact, dear friends, in the promotion of the tourism strategies, it's quite important. And yes, we must keep in mind, dear friends, it requires the varieties of the events or method of the trade fairs are quite important, quite required by extending the good service, by extending the faith, by extending the best products. So now, dear friends, we're talking about what the trade fairs and the trademarks. What is the I'm talking about the trade fairs. We must keep in mind, dear friends, trade fairs are certain means. Trade fairs are the means by which the practitioners of a particular sector can meet at a relevant point and watch the functioning of their peers, leaders in the sectors and their competitors. Regulate such a vast and definitionally woolly product like tourism and encourage and develop entrepreneurial freedom. So that must keep in mind, dear friends. Trade fairs. If we talk about the social Mela in Bhubaneswar right now of Odisha in India, it's going on the social Mela at the trade fairs. So in the trade fair, large number of the tourists, of the national tourists, they're coming because at a point within a palm, the tourists are getting all sorts of their getting all sorts of their goods what they require because this is the trade fair. And when to talk about the trade fair is the means one can practice one the practitioners I'm talking about of a particular sector can meet. Suppose there are the varieties of the tourists in all over the world that reference you may talk about it. And every sector of the tourist has its own demands, has its own necessities. And the trade fair is the place from where he gets number one. And number two, here the entrepreneurs gets the knowledge about the more strategy and the planning in the future. And another important thing is here at trade fair is the means where the goods are purchased, and we may talk about the sold by the senders and the customers, or by the consumers, or we may talk about the senders and the receivers, sellers and the customers and the consumers. And now we are talking about the travel mart, as means it is a place where the producers, sellers, and we may talk about the buyers of the tourism products and services meet face to face to transact business. If I'm talking about the difference, the book fair in all of the world, it comes under the travel mart. And we may talk about from time to time the World Trade Organization as well as the World Tourism Organization from time to time the travel mart, where the producers who produce the products, the sellers who sells the products, and the buyers, the customers. That means we may talk the travel mart is the triangular service sector, and particularly the tourism products and the services meet face to face. And this is called the travel mart, and it is also showcases, I told, the tourism products of a country or a region. And as you know, it considered the travel mart, the trade fair focuses on certain characteristics like these of traffics, tourings. I'm talking about these of the tourings. Then we're talking about the commissions, the we're talking about the clearances for invest, and we talk about the tax incentives. So, dear friends, when we are talking about the PATA is concerned, Pacific Area Travel Association introduced the concept of the travel mart in India as means. And similarly, there are from time to time the PATA conferences were held at the different locations of the countries or the different regions. And the PATA mart has been discussed as a case study at the for your information reference. When to talk about the case studies mentioned, that is the part of the marketing research. And here the PATA has considered certain events, and we might talk about uh, the events are professional planned. Whenever the party is going to organize any kind of the events in form of the trade fairs and the travel mart, that we must keep in mind, dear friends, it comes, it is the outcome of the planning. And the most important thing is here, keeping in view of the infrastructure, operations, business, transactions. Now I'm talking to you friends. For example, the sellers buy space in advance. It has happened in different. So to talk of the trade fair is concerned, I'm giving the example of Bali Chatra, which got last year the Guinness World Book records as far as the world's highest and the open largest trading market. And there is the turnover of 400, 500 crore rupees. And in this regard, I'm talking about the seller buys space in advance. So there is the distributions of in the Bali Jatra, the space is distributed among the sellers. So therefore, near about in presence of the administration collector, I'm talking about the sellers buy the space in advance. Difference why need? Because to sell the product. Similarly, appointments are pre-booked. I'm talking about yes. Appointments are pre-booked means we may talk about a difference. Yeah, under these occasions, the traders, the producers, they are making the healthy competitions. Just I'm talking about the restaurants. The restaurants are ready, are compete to each other in buying the best and the skilled cook because that's the competitions. If the cook produce the best productions of the kitchen, then there is the large scale of the concentrations of the visitors may talk with the tourists. So similarly, appointments are pre-booked. Once the date is declared for the trade fairs or the travel mart, it is happened that the seller buys the space earlier, then the appointments are pre-booked. That we must keep in mind. And the other hand, dear friends, in the other hand, I'm talking about the schedules are set for the participating organizations. Suppose I am talking about the varieties of the entrepreneurs, the producers are coming thousands. This year, we may talk about, as per the data is concerned, 1580. We are talking about the sellers buy the space in advance, and they had made their schedules cutting across, keeping in view of the Balijatra of Odisha in India, the Shilas, they are scheduled earlier. And now I'm talking to dear friends to talk about the travel march, or we are talking about the another aspects, we call it the trade fairs. What the benefits generally we are getting during the time of the business. During the time of the business, dear friends, there are so many transactions have been made. For example, I'm talking about what? I'm talking about the tours are sold, the commissions are decided, the volume of business is discussed and decided. The producers know the intermediaries' requirement, and we're talking with the producers meet new buyers, and the getting to know exercise are concluded to be followed up. So I'm talking about during the face-to-face interaction with the various business transactions. We came to know that there are so many things, and also side by side. If I talk in Balichitra, there is every day there was the musical concert, the cultural programs, or if I talk about the I'm talking about what? Dear friends, the circus, the magicians that we must keep in mind. And in this regard, I'm talking about what? The holding seminars and lectures by the experts, viewing of films, entertainment, and organizing cultural evenings form part of the travel mart. So now, dear friends, we are going to discuss about what? Going to discuss about the another aspects that is called the festivals. Particularly, we may talk about the festivals because it is important in context to the trade fairs and the festival. For your information, the Department of Tourism, Government of India, listed. When to talk with the festivals, as we all know, in all over the world, there are the varieties of the festivals. The festivals relating to the promotion of the cultural heritage, the promotion of the, we may talk about the trade and commerce, or promoted to sell the tourist products in keeping the view of the many aspects in all over the world. There are annual plan for the tourism promotions, and in this regard, dear friends, the Department of Tourism, Government of India, listed 72 festivals in between 1995 and 96. If we talk about the South Australia, it is known as the Festival of the State because of its deliberate policy adopting festivals as integral of the tourism market. Yes, it is a fact difference. In all over the India, if I talk about the what government of India has listed 72 festivals, beyond of it, in every state there are so many festivals which attracts a lot. If we talk about Baragad Dhanujatra, so it is one of the best fairs and the festivals as means of South Odisha, which is the open theaters in all over the world, and the Bargad Dhanjatra got of Odisha of India got the Guinness Book of Record. Similarly, the Western countries, as it means, also encourage the number of street festivals. It was happened just before Corona in Odisha, Bhubaneswar itself. The street festivals and the cultural events for the promotion of the tourism. And today, most of the third world countries now going to discuss are trying to appropriate the same form of the cultural representations with the tradition of their so-called cultural traditions. Yes, it is a fact difference. Because culture, if you may talk about Donald Gates has mentioned regarding the festivals and its importance in tourism sector. Event tourism is concerned with the rules that festivals and special events can play in destination developmental and the maximum of an event's attractiveness to the tourists. And whenever we talk about the festivals, yes, that is the prime task. Want to talk about the to sell the tourist product. Festival is the strength of a country. Festivals is the integral product of the tourism, and we may talk the tourism marketing. And whenever we're just defining the difference, the festivals, there are certain key elements of the festivals. There are certain key elements in the festival that we may talk about the celebrations through the special observance at a given time, a series of cultural performances. We may talk about the dance, We may talk about the music, drama, or rituals. And these are not just a reminder of the past tradition, but so they are living parts. And it did happen when you talk about the dance, drama, rituals like the Diwali, as you means to your friends. In all of India, Diwali is one of the major festivals. And here the people they may not celebrate the maintain their past tradition to give the respect to their forefathers, to their homage bodies, but also it is a matter of the showing their living ponds. And in another one, I'm talking about local fairs also providing the artisans an opportunity to sell their products. It is happened when to talk about the Bali Jatra means or giving the example, the local people or that means the inter-regional tourist to me call, they are coming forward to their traditional skills like in Odisha. The applique works from the Pipili. I may talk about the clothes, the weaving items from the Sonpur, from Shamalpur, or you may talk about Berhampur, Khurda, Chaudhar. And if you may talk about each and go to the tribal areas, the people, they are selling their forest goods, itineraries. And the local people are getting the opportunity to sell their products. And I'm talking about a difference. It provides the medicines. It provides the opportunities to whom? To the tourists that to have a cheerful festive environment. And it is the fact that when to talk about the tourism marketing has been considered today in all over the world as the means of the medicines to relax or to reduce the stress. Therefore, it has been part as the stress management. And similarly, dear friends, I'm talking about the promotions and the authenticity is also quite essential. And we came to know that when to talk about today's discussion was made, dear friends, we discussed a lot regarding in the concluding part. We must say that we must be shared the marketing mix can be studied under the specific situations, like we may talk about the familiarization tools, we may talk about the seasonal marketing, the tourism fairs and the travel markets. Even if also we may talk about your friends that we are talking about the festivals also play a vital role in the tourism marketing, and also it helps to earn the foreign earnings, and also it has the built impact on the society when to talk about the international understanding is concerned and the promotion of the friendship or the cooperations, and also it is one of the growing industry. Tourism industry is one of the growing industry in 21st century, and therefore all the countries of the world are come forward to sell their tourist products in a large scale through the marketing mix, through the marketing mix specific situations, the marketing analysis, marketing research, and it was all about our today's discussion that is called the marketing mix and the specific situation. Thank you for the patience hearing. Thank you, dear friends.
Welcome, sir, and thank you for the presentation.
Okay, okay, it's my pleasure.
You're welcome.
Did you enjoy?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the presentation.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.